Hello everybody, I'm Sally and welcome to today's Atta webinar. This afternoon I'm joined by Pierce Sinnott, who is in Dublin at the moment, and he is from Hideaways. And I'd just like to give you all a couple of reminders before I introduce Pierce properly and then we start the webinar. So if you have any questions, there's a Q&A box which should be showing on your screen where you can type any questions in either during the webinar or at the end. I will then field those to you, Pierce, and he can run through the answers with all of you. A recording will be sent out to everyone afterwards, so if you miss anything, you can go back to that and have another look. And it will also be shared on our website under past webinars, so you can search for webinars there and you can see any of our past ones. So without further ado, Pierce has been involved in the Southern African tourism industry since he moved to Cape Town in 1997. In early 2017, he joined Hideaways as marketing specialist, supporting their agents in the French and Nordic markets, as well as to manage the newly formed Grow Africa Foundation. He's since moved back to Ireland, and as I said earlier, will be speaking to us from Dublin about the life-changing experiences that you can have with Hideaways. So Pierce, over to you.
Thank you, Sally, and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this webinar. What I'm hoping to achieve now this afternoon is just to give you an introduction to Hideaways. Some of you might already know Hideaways for several years as being a wonderful collection of one lodge. And the exciting part is that this year, 2019, there's been a lot of changes in Hideaways, lots of new products coming online, so exciting. Just very briefly, Elephant's Eye is our lodge in Hwange that hopefully some of you already know and has been added to them. So I'll be introducing Rio Azul in Mozambique, Nantwich also in Hwange, and then Zambezi Truth, which is our sunset cruises on the Zambezi. Now, what brings this collection together really is an eco element. Well, I suppose there's a couple of different points, but one of them is an eco element. All of our lodges and products are designed in an eco-friendly way. Now, this might sound as if it's a little bit as the same as everyone else is saying, and possibly it is. We're not unique in that, but I do think it's important to mention. It's an important point to get across to clients and guests. Secondly, it's all very well having the most beautiful lodge in Africa, but if you can't create a nice experience or a superior experience around that, you've got nothing. So Hideaways for me is also all about the experience that we offer. It's not just the nice lodges, the spacious rooms, the lovely views, the wildlife, etc. It's really combining the whole lot into an experience. And to give you an idea of where we're positioned in the market, we're really aiming at a 4-star superior kind of level. So that makes it a kind of authentic experience and hopefully a special experience, and yet accessible to a fair amount of people, or the majority of your sort of discerning clients. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to the Hideaways ethos. And now I'm going to move on and just show you where each of them are located. If we go up to the top, so we've got Zambezi Truth, which I'm circling there now with my mouse, which is on the Vic Falls side of the Zambezi. Then we've got Elephant's Eye, which is this guy over here. And Elephant's Eye is in the northern section of Hwange National Park. Nantwich is our new lodge, which is just opening now next month. So just coming online, and that's in the western side of Hwange National Park, good and sort of remote wilderness area. And then finally, Rio Azul over in Mozambique, a little bit north of Vilanculos. So on to Elephant's Eye. Hopefully this will be just a quick reminder to many of you, and an introduction to some other people. The lodge itself is about 2.5 hours from Victoria Falls. It's an easy road transfer, good roads. So therefore it's an ideal lodge to combine with the Vic Falls. It could be an alternative to, for example, Joby, Or it also works extremely well in combination with Chobe, where you get a water experience on one side and you get a real wilderness and land-based safari on the other. We are actually in a concession which borders the national park, so we're not in the park itself. And I suppose there are pluses and minuses to being in a concession. The minus side is that maybe the game density isn't quite as high as within the park itself. But that said, we do get regular visits of all sorts of game and elephants almost on a daily basis. But we also have very easy access to the park itself. So we've got our own private entrance into the park. And that makes it for a seamless kind of transition between the concession and the park itself. And we have access to all the park as everyone else does too. In the lodge, we've got 8 thatched and tented chalets. They're all raised on stilts, as you can see in the picture in the top right. They all overlook the water hole, and they've got a nice sort of bathroom with an outdoor shower as well. So the outdoor shower is quite often a selling point or a wow factor. As you'll see on the main picture on the left, they are big rooms, they're comfortable, and having a room of that size, we can put extra beds in. And one of the selling points for Elephant's Eye is that we can put children in, sharing with parents, children from 7 to 17 years old, and they stay free of charge. So that's a big plus. We also, and this is something that goes throughout the collection, no single supplements. So that's also a good selling point. If you've got somebody who's traveling alone or a group or a family with an uneven number of people, think of Elephant's Eye, no single supplement. As usual, we've got all the usual amenities of most lodges, including the Boma, spa, curio shop, and a pool. Now, I got a nice little story about last year when I was over at Elephant's Eye and I was in the pool. I was looking out on all the stones around it, which was beautiful, and I could see all the lizards all playing around in the sun. Now I noticed there that all the lizards had paired up. There were clearly male and females, all these couples running around, and then a little bit off to the side there was one lizard all on his own. So I wondered what had happened there, and I sat and I watched him for a while, just studying him, and slowly but surely it dawned on me. He had a reptile dysfunction. Okay, so that was an interesting observation from my point. Okay, activities. Obviously, we've got the highlight of any visit to Hwange is going to be the safari and the game drives. And so, as I mentioned, we've got the direct access into the park, and we regularly bring guests on a full day game drive, pack a picnic lunch, and off we go. We can really get into the heart of the park. But being a concession, we can also do night drives. And one of the times I visited not so long ago, after dinner, we went out in the vehicles because we knew that there was a hyena den close by. And we sat and watched the hyena den and watched as the juveniles came out, played around, got kind of inquisitive, came up to the vehicle. It was a beautiful sighting. So we do have the possibility to do those sort of looks. They're wonderful. See on the bottom right, the small little picture is I suppose an early bush dinner, but that's the idea of it. Away from the lodge, near watering holes, set up the table, spotlights on the water hole, and then chef has got his braai or his barbecue going on the side and preparing dinner. Recently, we've introduced horseback safaris, so that's a half a day activity, so it's usually a morning activity. Again, it's on the concession. So these are the advantages of being on the concession. Another advantage is that we've got easy access to, on the one hand is the park, but the other side is the community. And there we've got visits to the Painted Dog Conservation Centre, which is quite close to us, which is something that guests are often interested in. And the second thing then that we offer is a community upliftment experience where we visit some of the local projects that we are involved with and the local community is involved with. And I would urge everybody just to keep that in mind for guests, certainly if they're staying 3 nights or more. It really is a wonderful opportunity to interact with locals, to find out about how they live, about their conditions there. And it's not at all voyeurism. It's an opportunity to interact with them in quite a natural way, which is really nice. We often get very, very good feedback on that, and people who never imagined they would go on safari with this in mind, and actually when they do it, they say, gosh, I'm so glad I did that. Final selling point for Elephant's Eye is what we call the Eye, which is our sleep out deck. So if you can picture it there on the right in the middle, there's a picture which shows the deck there. It's about 20 minutes outside of camp. So what would happen then is after dinner, the guests who are staying there will be taken out in their vehicle. The deck will all be kind of lit up with lanterns, so it looks beautifully romantic with a big mosquito net over the bed. And then guests are left there to spend the night. They are left with a spotlight so they can see any game that does come to the waterhole during the night. They're also left with a radio in case they want to come home, or if they feel kind of nervous or whatever it is, or if it starts to rain even. And then finally, and most importantly, they're left with a bottle of booze, a nice bottle of bubbly. Okay. For myself, my experience again at the Eye, I did it with my wife a little while ago, and when we arrived, we had a herd of probably 40 or 50 buffalo around us, and they were just starting to make their way on again. But it was a super arrival. During the night, then we had elephants coming down to drink, and you could hear them splashing at the watering hole, and you could catch a sight of them with the lamps, with the spotlights. But for me, the highlight was the next morning. The rising sun was absolutely spectacular. When you're in the middle of nowhere, you hear all the noises of the bush that start up. The sun coming up, and then that was kind of topped off by a pair of crown crane that kind of squawked the way across the skies and settled on the tree right above us. So something really magic to do, something special. And what I would mention to you as well, for those who are slightly unsure about the idea of sleeping out in the middle of nowhere, we do have our guide who will be sleeping at a discreet distance, probably about 5 minutes away, and not all the way back at camp. So if there is any problem, if people get nervous, if it starts to rain, they can radio across and he'll be out to pick them up in no time. Our second lodge is Nantwich, so that's also in Hwangi National Park, and this time right within the park. So it's over on the western side, reasonably close to the Robin sort of area, if you're familiar with it. And this will be opening, as I mentioned, there next month. The lodge itself is about an hour and a half from Vic Falls, so it's a quick transfer. There's 9 suites, so 9 rooms there, including interleading suites. And all the rooms, again, have views of the dam. If you look at the main picture here, you get an idea of what the area around us is like. In Hwangi, typically, there's kind of, broadly speaking anyway, 2 main kind of vegetation areas. One is the Mapani woodlands, which can be quite thick wood, and the Mapani tree is not very nutritious, so it typically doesn't have a very high carrying capacity of game. But the second one then is the open plains, and that's what we have around us, and that's typically where the majority of animals kind of congregate. So this area is known for big buffalo herds, and of course you get all the predators that come along after them. As I mentioned before, the no single supplement is always a selling point, and with the interleading rooms, the children playing half price, we are quite definitely family friendly. On to activities. Being in the heart of the park, we don't have all the advantages of the concession, but we do have great safaris, and that's what it's all about here. It's a safari destination. It's certainly not a zoo. And speaking of which, I was actually at the zoo, is a slightly aside, but I was at a zoo not that long ago with my family, and believe it or not, there was an enclosure which had a dog in it, just a domestic dog. I looked carefully at it and I realized that it was a Shih Tzu. Okay, apologies for the poor puns, but anyway. So full day game drive, half day game drives, game walks, and it's all about being in the bush, sundowners, middle of nowhere, really very, very few vehicles around. It's a wilderness experience. Great predator sightings, cheetah, you've a good chance of seeing cheetah and lion. So a nice combination with elephant's eye. Moving on, and on back to the Victoria Falls. So here we've got Zambezi Truth, which is really our sunset cruises. When you think of sunset cruises, you think of all those little kind of power boats, or some of them quite big speedboats or motorboats that go up and down the Zambezi at sundowner time. We've decided to do something a little bit different, trying to get an eco product. We've brought down a handmade dhow that was made in Dar es Salaam. We've actually got 2 of them on the water, and they operate under wind power, so under sail. So this gives a completely different sort of feeling for it. What we offer in Zambezi Truth, we call it a barefoot experience, and the reason for that is we literally ask people to leave their shoes on the banks of the river. So you're going into the boat barefoot, and you're feeling the hand-sanded wood beneath your feet. You're feeling the water lapping up against the underneath of the boat. It's a really kind of a tactile experience. We also don't offer seats, so there's no seats or on the boat, but there are cushions. So if you can imagine it, it's a kind of a bohemian style experience, very romantic. Maximum 12 people, so it's small group sizes, and children 12 years or over. Okay, so something quite special for your maybe honeymoon clients or others who are looking for something a bit different. I think since we've been running, one of the biggest compliments we've received is that from guests who came off and saying it was an amazing experience. They said, everybody's taking photographs of us. So I thought that really summed it up. It is something special. Finally, our last lodge is Rio Azul. And that's one we took over then earlier in the year, right at the beginning of the year. It used to be a fishing lodge, and we've turned it now into an FIT sort of destination. For this slide, I'm just going to ask all of you just to tilt your head to the left a little bit, because this area up here is north and this here is south. So you're going to have to imagine the slide on its side. Vilanculos is located right here, and about 110 kilometers north, you'll find Rio Azul. Now, if you look at this area here, you will see, as I'm outlining, this little spit that comes out, a little peninsula, and behind it here is the lagoon. So we are located the lagoon side of the peninsula. Getting to Rio Azul is a phenomenal experience. So it really sets everything up beautifully. Arrive into Vilanculos Airport, and direct flights there from Joburg and also from KMIA, from Nelspruit. And when you arrive, collected and transferred to the lodge. And one of the special things about that transfer is the last 30 kilometers are done, as you see down here in the lower slide, along the beach. So it makes for a really spectacular kind of entrance. I'd also just like to draw your attention to the bottom left slide, or bottom left picture. We've got, I'm circling the lodge itself there, which looks out onto the lagoon. And one of the great kind of advantages of that is you got those beautiful sunset views over the water, which many lodges in Mozambique can't offer. But the other thing I want to point out here is that from here, if you walk just 10 minutes over the dunes, you've got the ocean. So you really got the best of both here at Rio Azul. The lodge, as I mentioned, looks over the lagoon and the sunset. And we've got 5 chalets plus 2 villas. The chalets, all en suite, everything that you would expect from a 4-star or superior lodge, but it is solar electricity. So therefore, there's a limited amount of kind of power to each room. We do have fans in the room, and there are charging points, etc., for the for phones and cameras and everything, but not, you can't run your own private, whatever it is, cinema or whatever from there. The 2 villas, so they're well worth noting. Each of them are 3 rooms each, and then we've got a mezzanine level with bunk beds. So each of the 3 rooms are the same standard as the chalets, all en suite, all the same standard. Plus then you've got the 4 or the bunk beds upstairs where you can put 4 kids. So really nice option for families, small groups traveling together. Remember, no single supplement. Okay. Just to give you a quick idea of what the rooms actually look like, this will give you a quick picture of what it's all about. I think it really brings across the barefoot side of it. It's relaxed, it's chilled, it's friendly, it's welcoming, and it's right on the water, on the beach. So it's a beautiful place to relax for a few days. Something that I personally love is that each room or each chalet will have its own tinny. And what I mean by tinny is these little boats. So each room has its own boat, which you're free to use all around the lagoon whenever you please. You can drive them yourselves. You'll be shown how to do it when you arrive, and then you go explore. If you like, you can pick up the snorkeling equipment, drive off into the lagoon somewhere, jump out and snorkel. You can also go and explore the mangrove areas and the river that flows into it. So that's the bottom picture down below. So it really gives you quite a lot of independence, and to be honest, it's a lot of fun. Meal times, as you'd expect in Mozambique, lots of seafood and that Portuguese sort of influence as well. So expect the peri-peris and whatnot. Activities, got a host of activities. So as well as the little boats, there's snorkeling, kayaking, nature walks, so both along the beach and into the mangroves. We can do dhow cruises, and you'll see a beach picnic in there as well. And that's something that's quite special. We wait for the tide to go out and the sandbanks to appear. And then, as in the main picture here, we'll set up a beach picnic, which I think is quite a special occasion. It's slightly different from picking up your picnic basket and walking 100 meters down the beach and setting up there. We've also got additional activities which are not included. Now, the lodge did start off as a fishing lodge, so deep sea fishing is a big draw card. We've also got snorkeling over in the reefs in the ocean side, and a variety of different motorized water sports and trips to other islands in the area. So this image just gives you an idea of some of the different activities on offer. Okay, so that's our 3 lodges and the Zambezi Truth. I just want to finish by saying a few quick words on the Grow Africa Foundation. In Sally's introduction, she mentioned that I was involved with, and I still am involved in the Grow Africa Foundation. It's one of my sort of pet projects, I suppose, or my favorite little bits to be involved in. And basically what we're aiming to do is to make a positive impact on the environment, society, and the economy in the places we travel to or interact with. We have a host of different projects that we support, including in Hwange National Park, an anti-poaching unit. And for everybody who stays in any of our lodges in Hwange, there will be a levy which goes to CWF levy, Conservation of Wildlife Fund levy, which will go towards the Conservation of Wildlife Fund, which is at the moment largely involved with anti-poaching. So anti-poaching units. We also are involved in various research projects and maintenance of watering holes, things like that. But our big focus at the moment is anti-poaching units. On the other side, we also are very involved with a community called the Dingani community, which is close to Elephant's Eye, and specifically we're very involved with the school there. We encourage guests to pack for a purpose, which is I suppose an international platform where various projects are highlighted, and the idea being that if a guest is coming over to Africa and has got spare luggage capacity, why not pack a few things for the local school or whatever project it is that's being highlighted. We do sponsor a teacher there, Yolanda Nkubi, who's actually from the local community, a lovely lady there. And the school is over 360 children with 6 teachers at the moment. So we're hoping to be able to sponsor more teachers. So if any of your companies would like to get involved, we'd love to speak to you about that. Alternatively, any of your clients who come back and they say, I'd really love to get involved with a project in Africa, please do think of us. Resivo Scholarship and Book Fund, pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. We're providing scholarships for some of the kids there. Over half of them can't afford to pay their yearly school fees. So we step in and we help them with that. And we've also got a book fund as part of that, where the curriculum changed in Zimbabwe a couple of years back, and the school hasn't been able to buy the new textbooks that are needed. Project Pena, fighting to break the taboo on menstruation in Africa. And that's really came about because 25%, or sorry, many of the young girls in the school, in the community, when they start hitting puberty and things, they then don't have access to the sanitary wear that they would need, and that can result in missing up to 25% of their school. So very difficult to get good results in school if you're missing so much. Finally, just draw your point to every 3-night booking that we receive at Elephant's Eye, we will sponsor one child through school for a year. So it's just a message, of something that we pass on ourselves. There's no extra charge to your guests or your clients, but it is nice to highlight it so they can feel good about their holiday. So what do we ask for you for the Grow Africa Foundation? Really, it's all about spreading the word. If you can mention it to any of your clients who are coming to visit us in any of our any of our products or lodges. The website is there down the bottom. It's an independent website, so we'd be very grateful if you could just mention it again or direct them towards the website. So that's the end of my presentation. Just to finish up, I'm going to ask you to look really carefully down low beneath these guys' feet. And if everyone concentrates really, really hard on that place there we go. That's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you very much, Pierce. Yeah, we'll take questions now. I can see that there's one already from Jamie who says, what extra fee does the Elephant's Eye cost, or the eye itself?
The eye is $80 extra for a stay over at the eye. We will hold your room for you while you stay there. So if it does rain or whatever it is, we're not going to sell on your room. So yeah, $80.
Thanks, Pierce. We'll just wait and see if a few questions come in now. Got a couple of thank yous coming through on the chat box.
Super, well, thank you.
Okay, next question is from Marinki. Do you offer SADC rates for Rio Azul, or is it common rated?
It's usually common rated.
Okay, question from Fungi. How is the malaria in the Rio Azul area?
Okay, it's not something that I've heard much of malaria there, so I believe that it's not a big problem. Obviously, the rainy season, which sort of December through to February, March, is going to be a higher chance. But we haven't come across in the sort of the area around us, we haven't come across malaria as a problem over the last year.
Okay, there's a question from Carolyn, which is in the chat box. Do you have specials combining Hwangi and Mozambique, for example?
Okay, we do have some packages that we have put together, which combine the both. So those can be sent out. That's not a problem at all. And I'm sure in the future there will be some special offers. We do send out newsletters, and all special offers are included in that, or will be advertised on that.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Juliet. How many children maximum per room at Elephant's Eye can go free of charge?
Two children, 7 to 17 years old. The one thing just worth keeping in mind, I think it's important to let guests know, is that the rooms in Elephant Eye are reasonably open plan. So the bathrooms, while they are kind of screened off by a kind of a canvas screen, there's no actual door between the two. And obviously the loo is hidden in behind a canvas kind of screening as well. But yep, two kids per room, no problem at all.
Okay, thanks. I think that is all the questions we have for now. I'll just wait a couple of moments and see if we have any more. In the meantime, just to remind everyone that a recording will be sent out to you later on today, so you can watch the webinar again afterwards. And I'll include Pierce's contact details on there should you have any further questions. We're also including a video of Rio Azul, which Pierce, is that a recent video? Just remind me.
Yes, it is, from earlier this year.
Okay, thanks. So that will also be included in the email that's sent out to everyone. Just a comment now has come up in the chat box. Okay. This is from Di Bignell. I stayed at Elephant's Eye a few years ago and loved it. The bed was amazingly comfortable and the outside shower was a fabulous experience overlooking the waterhole. Great to see the new sleep out you have. The spa was just being completed, so I didn't get to experience that. Maybe next time. Oh, it's not a question. Maybe next time round, but a big thank you from Di from Adelaide, Australia.
Super, Di. Lovely to hear the feedback. Please do come and visit us again. Feedback like that, you're welcome anytime.
A nice testimonial for you there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for this afternoon. So thank you very much to Pierce, and thank you so much everyone for attending, and we hope to see you all again next time.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, and thanks, Sally. Cheers. Bye-bye.